Well, that race was a lot more exciting than I expected. Things were looking over before they had really begun in the elite male race after the weather really dampened my squib. But before we get to that, there was a race yesterday to talk about the junior race. In the junior female category, everyone was expecting the battle between Aris van Leuven, Lisa Bouladou, Valentina Sanchez and Amy Kenyon. There weren't nearly as many expecting the unknown junior from New Zealand, Sasha Ernest, to blow up the category mid-season. I tried to shout her out during our Inside the Tape video and pulled the wrong surname from my memory banks. Sasha Ernest stamped her authority on the World Cup scene with a massive win by over 12 seconds, which is the definition of convincing. Look out for her in the rest of the year and the future. The junior male category is in a similar situation with several riders that could win on the day. Bodie Kuhn had been on the verge of winning at previous rounds, placing second at both of them. A win felt like it was just around the corner, but Chris Hauser and Ryan Pinkerton weren't going to let him take it without a fight. Interesting fact, local boy Chris Hauser, who won the first round, recently discovered he had fractured a vertebrae pre-season, which is the reason for his recent back pain. He's not let it slow him down though, and he was giving everything for the local fans here in Italy with the fastest first split on his race run. Things turned south real quick though when he slipped on a rock, took a massive spill to his head. He jumped to his feet but did not finish his run. There's a big gap to the next world event, so he should have time to fully heal up. In a similar vein, Ryan Pinkerton was lighting things up on his run. The kid has been impressing everyone during practice with his pace. Winning practice is definitely a thing, and Ryan took all the trophies this week. On his race run, he was clearly way faster than anyone that had come before, but blew up in a tight, dusty left-hander and looked to have thrown it all away. The thing is, when you're going that fast, you can do a cartwheel, jump back on your bike and still be up at the next split. He lost about 6 seconds in this crash and finished in second, less than 1 second behind the winner. Fair play. To finish first though, first you must finish, and that's exactly what Bodie did. Consistency wins championships, and Bodie is leading the junior series going into the mid-season break. Let's see how the consistency plays out with 5 more races to go. The following day saw the elites battle against the clock, with semi-finals taking place on a drying track from the heavy rain the previous night. This track can catch you out no matter the conditions, and there were definitely some spicy moments that kept things exciting before finals kicked off. Phoebe Gale elicited the first gasp of the day when she ran a little wider than intended, tried to steer back on line, washed out on the slick rocks, dug in the back wheel and got ejected out the side door. Nina Hoffman had a similar semi-run to her race in Leogang with a washout onto her left side. There's a big route you can't see in the live feed that she just misjudged, and it took her front wheel from under her, and luckily she didn't hurt that left knee again. Johan Garçon pulled one of the sickest accidental moves in his race run. He scrubbed the finish line jump, but he had a rapidly deflating rear tyre which caused him to drift off the lip into the sickest nosed-in whip to a nose bonk, and it just looked rad as shit. Brooke McDonald found a bit of grease in the open stump section and pushed the front wheel, showing that the track wasn't quite at peak traction. Italian Stefano Introsi had a Pinkerton moment in the same corner as the junior racer. There's a massive dusty hole in the outside line they both hit, and Stefan hit the hole at too tight an angle, jackknifed mid-turn and flipped the bars trying to get a result on his home track. Roger Vieira found the limits of grip on the outside line in the section we ghosted the other day that a lot of racers started to favour. More rocks and more roots were coming out on this fresher line as time went on, and they caught out the privateer racer. Joe Breeden had one of the wildest moments these eyes I've ever witnessed. His hand blew off the bars in the braking bumps entering the penultimate turn. He rode the corner with his chest on the bars, somehow got his hand back on without crashing, which is a feat in itself, then collapsed into the bike, rode over the back of the berm and pitched into a huge nosedive that looked unsavable. He saved it and then rode it out. It was amazing. Lloyd Bruni got a little wild in his semis. In the upper section, there's this massive gnarly gap over holes onto an off-camber right, full of roots, holes, dust. He got out of shape in the compressions on the exit, target fixated on the tree and just hit it dead straight and rammed his stomach into the back of the saddle, bending it into the shape of a banana. Stack had a similar moment, but he declined to bananarize his saddle. Phil Atwell was on a heater of a semi before he overcooked it into one of the bottom turns. He crumpled into the right-hander, had to get off the brakes to save it, and then yeeted himself over the back of the berm. Like, Holy crap, he's spectacular even when he's crashing. Charlie Hatton must have the deadest leg in Val Di Sole after he wrapped it around a massive boulder in that middle woods. It's so hard to take the compressions on this section at speed and hold your line. Charlie was off by a couple of degrees and was lucky he didn't snap his leg with that impact. And that was just the semis. There was more to be witnessed in the finals. It was cool to see Tanny back at it and pushing the speed, but definitely not cool to see her hit the deck. Luckily, she pulled some mad gymnastics to save her head from a hard impact, which is great considering her long recovery from concussion last year. The big story most were wondering in the elite women's category was my favourite hypothetical debate. A rider crashed in a heater of a run. Would they have won if they didn't crash? Well, it is redundant as to when you have to balance speed with not crashing. It's a great game to play. First year elite Gracie Hemstraight pushed things a little far this time, crashing in the powdery dust near the bottom of her run. I had to rip the live feed, slap it into my editor and see just how much time she lost against eventual winner Valley Hall with this crash. Gracie finished in 7th, 7.2 seconds back on Valley. Let's compare. So here goes Valley and Gracie. They go into this turn. Gracie tucks the front. She hits the deck. The dust flies and Valley is disappearing off into the distance. Gracie's fumbling. She's getting back on her bike. She's lost all her momentum as Valley is accelerating away down into the next section. Gracie's on the move now. She is moving, but she's going to have less speed as Valley gets to the finish. Gracie's coming. She's coming round this corner. She'll have less speed because she fell. And at the finish, 6.28. So that wouldn't quite have gotten her the win, but you know, she lost momentum. It could have been very close. And if we take this as gospel, she would have been second place. Very promising for the future. Regardless of this cool hypothetical, Valley laid down a sick run to take her second win of the year and is now within 40 points of series leader Camille Balanche, which should hopefully lead to a great battle this season. The elite male category is where things took a turn. The clouds darkened, the wind picked up, and moisture started to fall on the Black Snake, turning it into a very different beast. The first few riders managed to get down with some sections getting slippier, but other sections actually getting grippier. Bernard Kerr was the first to figure out the changing conditions and put down an excellent run on the confusing track. He plunked himself into the hot seat as the rain continued and the conditions gradually worsened. It was at this point, while we watched Dante blow up his rear wheel, Remy get disqualified and various others struggle in the conditions, that we realised that Bernard might win. The conditions were deteriorating and you could see on Bernard's face that he did not want to win this way. Then he perked up when his teammate Jacob had the longest near crash we'd seen since all the way back in semi-finals when Breeden blew off his hand. The riders at this point in the race had the worst conditions. You could see Angel Suarez, Antoine Rogue just struggling for grip on the track. Luckily for us spectating, the rain eased off and the sun came out, and finally it looked like we might have a race in our hands. Bernard was certainly relieved. Bruni got the fans excited with some blistering top splits and choice lines showing that Bernard could be beaten. As the track dried and faster riders took to the track, we got closer and closer to seeing a new leader. It was Troy Brosnan that did the best job of reading the conditions, pushing to the limits of available grip to slot into the lead. He had some creative lines to get out of the rough, and it all added up to his first podium of the year. Then Deprella happened. I'm not sure what's wrong with the man, but he's an absolute lunatic. There were at least 27 near-death moments and a mid-run no-handed arm swag on the bridge. It was his celebration that got the biggest reaction out of me though. The cameraman must have papped his chance when Deprella screamed down the lens with him. His eyes like this. After calming down from Deprella's run, I was expecting something a bit more relaxed with Jackson Goldston, but he pushed the front in that very first turn, caved, nearly licked his front tyre, and then proceeded to rail the next turn like nothing happened. Just what? A few more moments had me flinching, but boy was he moving. He then swung up into a line that no one else took in the middle woods. He didn't do it on his previous run, so this was a last minute line change. Let's compare him against Finn and see if it was actually any faster. We have the two Canadians on Canada today. There's Finn on the low line, Jackson up on the high, super quick, bouncing through there, and he accelerates out that turn, he gets to the tree, and he made up 0.58 on this short section. Making up half a second there didn't get him the win, but it definitely contributed to him getting the fastest sector and eventually the win on the day. Excellent riding from the young Canadian. Finn Isles and Jordan Williams gave their best, with Finn slotting into second just behind Jackson with an excellent run. Jordan looked to be on his way to third place, but he gave it a bit too much sauce into the final greasy turn into the woods. Gapping in, he found a deficit of traction and washed out into the netting. He looked to be okay and cruised down to the finish. That has got to be one of the most eventful races I've ever seen. It was just so exciting and there was so much to cover. And if you appreciate the effort from the full team here, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, because we will be at World Champs in a month and a bit's time in Fort William. And we will see you there. God. Downhill racing's sick. The best. Amazing. Oh yeah, let me know what we missed. Comment section's down there.